Platonism. It is a philosophical school of thought founded by the most based Greek of them all, Plato. The primary concept of Platonism is the theory of forms. These forms are eternal and immutable, serving as the true reality underlying the physical world. Plato argues that the material world we perceive is merely a flawed reflection or imitation of these perfect forms. Aristotelianism. It is a philosophical tradition inspired by the work of Aristotle. Aristotelianism puts emphasis on empirical observation, logical deduction, and categorization of knowledge. Aristotle's philosophical framework includes concepts such as the four causes, the distinction between potentiality and actuality, and the doctrine of the mean. Stoicism focuses on advocacy for living in accordance with nature, cultivating self-control, and accepting what cannot be changed with equanimity. Stoic philosophy teaches the development of virtue as the path to meaningful life. Existentialism focuses on individual freedom, choice, and the quest for meaning in an inherently meaningless universe. Existentialists emphasize personal responsibility, authenticity, and the importance of subjective experience. Utilitarianism. Introduced by Jeremy Bentham and developed by John Stuart Mill, utilitarian ethics evaluate actions based on their consequences and assert that the morally right action is the one that maximizes overall happiness or utility for the greatest number of people. Pragmatism. Pragmatism is a philosophical school of thought developed by philosophers such as Charles Sanders, William James, and John Dewey, emphasizing practical consequences and utility in determining truth and value. Pragmatists prioritize the effectiveness of beliefs and actions in solving problems and achieving desired outcomes. Skepticism. Skepticism is a philosophical stance that advocates for the suspension of judgment. Skeptics question the reliability of human perception, emphasizing the limitations of human understanding. Skepticism ranges from moderate skepticism, which questions certain types of knowledge, to radical skepticism, which doubts the possibility of knowledge altogether. It encourages critical thinking and inquiry, challenging assumptions and beliefs to arrive at more nuanced understandings of the world. Rationalism. Rationalism is a philosophical perspective that emphasizes the primacy of reason in acquiring knowledge. Rationalists assert that certain truths can be known independently of sensory experience through the use of reason alone. This contrasts with empiricism, which holds that knowledge is derived primarily from sensory experience. Empiricism. Empiricism puts emphasis on sensory experience and observation as the primary sources of knowledge. Empiricists reject the existence of innate ideas and argue that all knowledge is derived from experience. It assumes that all humans are born as blank slates upon which experiences are written. This concept is also known as tabula rasa. Idealism. Idealism is an assertion that reality is fundamentally mental or spiritual, with the material world dependent on consciousness. Idealists argue that the mind or spirit is the primary reality, and the physical world is a manifestation of mental or spiritual phenomena. This ideology is opposed by materialism. Materialism. Materialism is a view that only physical matter exists, denying the existence of supernatural entities. Materialists assert that everything in the universe, including consciousness and mental phenomena, can be explained by physical processes and advocate for a scientific understanding of the world based on empirical evidence. Nihilism. Nihilism rejects objective meaning, value, or purpose in existence. Nihilists argue that life is inherently meaningless, and traditional values and beliefs lack justification. Hedonism. Hedonism advocates that pursuit of pleasure or happiness is the highest form of good. Hedonists prioritize the maximization of pleasure and the minimization of pain in ethical decision-making. Naturalism. Naturalism focuses on assertion that the universe operates according to natural laws, excluding supernatural explanations. Naturalists emphasize the scientific method and empirical investigation as the most reliable means of understanding reality. Deontology. Deontology is a way of thinking about what's right and wrong based on rules. Instead of looking at the consequences of actions, deontology says that some actions are just inherently right or wrong, no matter what happens as a result. So, according to deontology, whether an action is good or bad depends on whether it follows certain rules or moral principles, like honesty or respecting others' rights. Virtue ethics. Virtue ethics is a way of thinking about what's right and wrong based on developing good character traits or virtues. Instead of focusing on specific actions or rules, virtue ethics looks at the kind of person you are and whether you have good qualities like honesty, courage, and kindness. It suggests that by cultivating these virtues, you'll naturally make good decisions and lead a good life. So, in simple terms, virtue ethics is about being a good person by building and practicing good habits of character. Postmodernism. Postmodernism is a way of thinking that questions traditional ideas about truth, knowledge, and reality. It suggests that there's no one correct way to see the world, and that different people can have different perspectives that are equally valid. Postmodernism also challenges the idea that there's one big universal story or truth, and instead focuses on the diversity of experiences and viewpoints. Scholasticism. Scholasticism is focused on using reason and logic to understand religious beliefs, particularly those of Christianity. Scholastic thinkers, known as scholastics, would study ancient texts, especially those of Aristotle, and try to reconcile them with Christian teachings. They used logical arguments to explore questions about God, the soul, and the universe, aiming to deepen understanding of religious truths through rigorous intellectual inquiry. Phenomenology. Phenomenology is a way of looking at the world that focuses on people's experiences and how they perceive things. It's about understanding what it's like to be someone from their perspective. Instead of trying to figure out what's really out there, phenomenology studies how things appear to us and how we experience them. It's like paying attention to the way things seem to us, rather than trying to uncover some hidden truth behind them. Transcendentalism. Transcendentalism emphasizes the importance of individualism, self-reliance, and intuition. Transcendentalists believe that people can connect with a higher spiritual reality through nature, self-reflection, and intuition, rather than through organized religion or societal conventions. They value simplicity, inner wisdom, and the idea that individuals have the power to transcend or go beyond the limitations of everyday existence to find deeper truths about themselves and the universe. Deism. Deism is a belief system that says there is a God who created the universe, but that God doesn't interfere with or control the world once it's been created. Deists think that God set natural laws in motion, and then let the world run according to those laws, without directly intervening in human affairs or performing miracles. They often see God as a distant figure, rather than one who's actively involved in everyday life. Epicureanism. Epicureanism is a philosophy founded by the ancient Greek thinker Epicurus. It focuses on finding happiness and peace of mind through simple pleasures, like friendship, freedom, and tranquility, rather than pursuing wealth or power. Epicureans believe that living modestly and avoiding unnecessary desires and fears leads to a more content and fulfilling life. Humanism. Humanism is a belief system that emphasizes the value and agency of human beings. It focuses on human potential, dignity, and well-being, rather than supernatural or divine forces. Humanists advocate for individual rights, social justice, and the pursuit of knowledge and education. In simple terms, humanism celebrates the power and responsibility of humans to make positive changes in the world. Liberalism. Liberalism is a political and social philosophy that emphasizes individual freedoms, equality, and the protection of human rights. Liberals believe in limited government intervention in people's lives and advocate for democratic governance, rule of law, and free market economies. In simple terms, liberalism values personal freedom, fairness, and the idea that everyone should have the chance to pursue their own goals and happiness. Objectivism. Objectivism emphasizes the importance of reason, individualism, and self-interest. Objectivists believe in the objective reality of the world and advocate for rational self-interest as the guiding principle of human action. They reject altruism and argue that individuals should pursue their own happiness and success without sacrificing themselves for others. Pacifism. Pacifism is a belief that rejects violence and war as a means of resolving conflicts. Pacifists advocate for peaceful methods, such as negotiation, dialogue, and nonviolent protest, to promote social change and resolve disputes. In simple terms, pacifism is about striving for peace and justice through nonviolent means, rather than resorting to aggression or warfare. Positivism. Positivism is a philosophical school that holds that all genuine knowledge is either true by definition or positive, meaning that facts should be derived from reason and logic. Positivists believe that the scientific method is the most reliable way to acquire knowledge, and that theories should be tested through experimentation and observation. In simple terms, positivism says that we can understand the world by studying observable phenomena and using scientific methods to test our ideas. Realism. Realism is a philosophical perspective that emphasizes the objective reality of the world. Realists believe that things exist independently of our thoughts or perceptions about them. They argue that there's a world out there that exists whether we're aware of it or not. Realism contrasts with idealism, which says that reality is fundamentally mental or spiritual. In simple terms, realism says that the world is real and exists regardless of what we think about it. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe to help this channel grow. This is only the first video of many, and I hope to see all of you when the next one drops. Until then, have a lovely day, and see you next time. Stay based.